Programming, periodization. I moved here, as I was telling you, first of all, I want to hold you guys to a higher standard. If we're on time, we are late. I sent a message to Chris joking, but kind of serious. I wonder if I should lock this door at 9:31. That's me. I know it's not for everybody. I know it's a high kind of strict standard, but if we do this now, on time equals late, and this is what they did when I was at the Australian College of Basketball, they did it for us. We would get punishments if we were late to any of our trainings and games, and there would be very hard punishments. There'd be physical. There would be a lot of demanding physical work. They said on time equals late, and then early equals on time. And that's standard, and that counts for me too. If I'm late, I need to be held accountable. So you guys would hopefully do that to me as well. Because then if you guys get this now, then you almost never will be in the real world and have to deal with the consequences of turning up late to a session with the client, missing a session with the client, which is charging $50 to $100 an hour, or in a workplace, university, anything where the stakes are much higher. Here you can fail safely. If you're late, something happens, message me. But I want to be that harder parent, which not everybody will like at the beginning, but maybe in 2 years' time you'll be like, all right, I'm glad we did that. So on time equals late, early equals on time. Is that fair?
Yeah.
Is that cool?
Yeah.
Sweet.
A good quote to back that up by: the standards you walk by are the standards you set.
Say it again?
The standards you walk by are the standards you set.
Yeah. And that's interesting, because that's even how you keep your environment, right? So if we see mess, we should clean it up. The standards you walk by, the standards you keep. I like that. Okay. I'll be there. Program. You guys have all written programs by now. In your programs, did you write warm-ups?
Yes.
Cool. So what should our warm-up consist of? What criteria do we want to hit to optimally prepare the person for the main bulk of the session? But let's start with maybe how long this should take. So the duration. If we have a 1 hour session, how are we going to be economical with time?
Probably no longer than 10 minutes.
Okay. So let's be clear. What percent is that? What's 10 minutes out of 60? We'll do the math on that.
Is that 15 something?
Can I get a calculator?
Yeah, around that.
Because it's important. Because 60 minutes, every minute is $1 if they're paying it at $60, or it's a certain percentage. What do we got?
Yeah, about a bit more than 15%.
Call it 15. And now you have, is 15% a good way to spend it? 15% of your session? That's a pretty decent amount. Okay. We'll come back to that. Now, what criteria? How do we think about an optimal warm-up? Because what are we trying to do with the warm-up? Why do we have it? Because some people just go train, right?
Mm-hmm.
Particularly when I started training with Ben, my coach and a business partner, this man, and it's in my vlog, you'll see, on my training vlog, this man it was no warm-up, it was the bar. And he would work up to deadlifting up to 300 kilos. And he's over 40 years old. So you could you have every reason to have a warm-up, but he's kind of come away from that over the years and uses the movement to prepare him. So there's another whole world where this warm-up is the movement. But let's be able to argue both sides. Why do we want to warm up? What's the purpose of it?
Get you primed for the session.
What does that mean, primed for the session?
You want to feel good. You want to actually feel good before you move into the session.
And I think that's important, feel, subjective, that is fine. Feel. Fine. What else?
Increase body's temperature.
Huge. Okay. So, huge. What else? We're going to come back to this because this is an asterisk. Prime, increased body temperature.
Mobility, possibly.
Okay, yeah. Anybody want to add to that?
You kind of like wake up the nervous system a little bit more.
Yeah, and that comes into prime. Like that's another thing that is definitely integrated to prime is your CNS.
Hello.
What's up, Kaz? You're stimulating your CNS for what reason? G up. That's real. That's real. Like, if we excitate your nervous system before the session, we should be able to see what? It's really simple as that. Let's be general to start with, because we need to be able to talk to our clients about why would we do with some of our athletes, a lot of you want to work with athletes, to finish the end of the warm-up or the start of the session, what could we do here? What type of explosive movements, and how would you think about choosing them?
Dynamic movements that are like targeting a specific, the main muscle groups that you want to be targeting in the session.
Absolutely. Okay, can you give me an example? Can anyone give me an example?
Squat, jump, squat.
I'm going to give you guys something. Do you know why you picked a squat jump for a squat? Can you describe why you picked that?
It's the same level.
Yeah. So think about movement pattern. You don't even have to think, what am I putting? So like better performance. Let's say why. Because better performance equals increases excitation. Oops. Excitation of the nervous system, increased ability to drive action potentials. Does anyone know what the hell that is?
Are they the neurons that like, that's basically making...
They don't, they're not the neurons, but they think of them like the electrical signals, like a light switch that go from brain to muscle. So by having something explosive at the end of your session, not only do you feel like more alert and G'd up, if people are tired and sluggish, like get them to do an explosive 3 to 6 reps, 1 to 2 sets, med ball, jump, sprint, and watch their state change. Mental. So these they're like electrical impulses that go from brain to muscle. They should now be able to propagate faster, which is awesome. Because if they can go faster, you can react quicker. You guys see where I'm upstairs now? You got it.
I need to get that door back on the hinges, I reckon.
Just put it over the door.
Soundproof the room.
We'll do the best we can. Faster. So, what I want you to think, I know we're zooming forward a bit, but really, if there was 2 main things to put in your warm-up, it would be body temperature, and I'd put muscle temperature as well with that, although they come together. Increase muscle temperature, excitate the nervous system. Like if you have 5 minutes, not everybody has 10, 15 minutes of warm-up, right? Like Lockie, I know you love doing extensive warm-up, right? Like how long would yours go for?
Oh, when I was playing footy, it would have been like 15, 20 minutes.
Yeah.
But that was because I had the time. But now
That's cool.
it's 5 minutes.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh, sweet. Okay, cool, we've come around. So we might start with our, what do we usually start with when athletes walk in the session? What's the first thing they usually do when they walk in the door?
In terms of what the athlete does or what the warm-up should do?
What the athlete does in their warm-up, and maybe if you agree or disagree with what they're doing. Does that make sense? What is one of the first things they do when they come through?
Well, I notice all my athletes grab like the foam rollers and just roll themselves out.
Yeah. What do you think?
Rotating, I guess.
Yeah, like, don't mind it.
Mm.
How do we feel? Do we think that's a useful use of our time? Do we think it helps the athletes? Do we think it's changing something within the body?
We can slightly increase muscle length for a short amount of time. But I've kind of gone away from it recently just because I don't think I don't think it has as much of a benefit as, like, it doesn't benefit me now not doing it, like, I don't really feel a huge difference.
Yeah.
But I think it's very subjective, like, if someone likes doing it, then
It's not really hitting anything that we want to hit. It's
Well,
not increasing body
Feel.
weight.
The
You might
feel,
feel a bit better, yeah.
right? And that's important because athletes have rituals and stuff. But if you have 60 minutes, I would argue that I probably don't want to spend 15% of your session or even 5% of your session doing soft tissue work and foam rolling. Because a lot of this is actually placebo, which is fine because placebo works, right? Does anyone know what placebo is? Remember it?
Nothing's happening, but you think it is, so you think it
Nothing's happening, but so nothing actually.
physiologically changing.
Yes, it's more neurological, meaning I give you this water. I tell you it has poison in it. It's going to make you feel sick. Actually, that's no secret, but I'll tell you that anyway. It's going to make you feel sick. And I give it to this one to you, a different one to you, Andy. I tell you, man, you're going to feel great. There's like, there's some stuff in there. Heavy. Pre-workout. They're both the same. You feel like shit, you feel great. What are we seeing? What are they called? Which one is which? Placebo, nocebo?
That's placebo's feeling good, nocebo's feeling bad.
Exactly. Foam rolling, tissue work, a lot of that, its effects are placebo and on the central nervous system, temporary. I need you guys to understand this, that the research on, I used to think if you scroll back far enough, you'll see me talk about it. I've talked about how I thought, I was learning incorrectly, that I thought soft tissue work, foam rolling, lacrosse balls, all this stuff that I do videos on, it was actually changing the fascia. It was actually changing the actual tissue and improving like scar tissue and changing the adhesions across the tissue. Wrong. We don't have evidence of that. It's theoretical based. What we do see is that people feel better. We've got to respect that. And the next thing is the CNS is temporarily causing a down regulation of maybe a sensation in pain, which is really important because pain will inhibit muscular contractions. You guys should be aware of that. Someone is feeling pain during movement or around in other areas, it will distract them from being able to actually recruit and switch on the motor units. So I would not spend my time here if I was you guys. What we do see might be hard to read, but hopefully easier than last week. I got a couple stuff here on increasing muscle and body temperature. Research is showing that we can decrease our muscles' level of stiffness, therefore increasing elasticity and flexibility through a dynamic warm-up. By increasing the temperature of the muscle through activities like jog, blah, 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 the muscles become more supple and improve the ability to freely move. That we can all feel. Okay? So that's good. We want to do that, and that's pretty easy to do, to make them more pliable to motion and less stiff, especially in the winter when you're very stiff because it's cold. And this is where a lot of the money happens. Increases in core temperature have been shown to increase the sensitivity of nerve receptors and increase the speed of nerve impulses, encouraging muscular contractions to be more rapid and forceful. That's huge. So we're doing all this mobility work, we're doing all this tissue work, and most of it is placebo and central nervous system driven. Yet the shit that's actually going to make the most difference is just increasing your body and muscle temperature. Neural conduction and excitability following the simple warm-up on the neural and muscular conduction. Decreases neural and muscular conduction time. A significant reduction in muscle conduction time was found here for the calf. After, what was it? It was just 5 minutes at 65% of max heart rate. So if you had all this, the changes that we're noticing with mobility, are temporary. Same thing with soft tissue work. If you have two things to do that's going to get you 80 to 90% of the benefit, it's this, increased muscle temperature, and this, CNS, particularly if you're doing some type of athletic compound big lift. This is where I would spend our time. I used to have this all long ass warm up template that I used to give former students. It would be like, it would be more what athletes authority kind of do. They have like a release, activate, integrate, excitate.
We have the same.
Yeah, me too, yeah. Release, grace, prime.
And it's fine, the principles of it are fine. But release group, we don't need to release necessarily unless the athlete is in a habit of doing it and they feel really good for doing it, and if they have the time. But these two. So what that could look like, what could the body temperature look like? How could we simply increase body temperature, or maybe even do some of the other stuff at the same time? How could you get mobility and increase body temperature? You could think two birds with one stone.
Some sort of dynamic stretching.
What could that look like?
Like a strider, maybe, with like the arm where you open up your chest as well.
So
I don't know if that will really increase body temperature.
not really.
Yeah.
Maybe like lunges, something like RDLs.
Yeah, actual movement. So you can start to do your body weight movement for the session. So it could be low level body weight movements. Or guys, it really can be as simple as this. You know, the old PTs would stay up, they'd say to their coaches, it's like a thing that we joke about now, but it's actually like coming to actually being valuable. I'll just step on the bike, go on the treadmill, go on the roll for like 5-10 minutes before we start. It has like a lazy connotation to it, but before the session even starts, not counting your actual session time, we can see that it's valuable. We can see that it's actually going to improve the quality of your session and central nervous system's ability to conduct action potentials. So, for me, I'll give you an example. I'm on the step, okay? You could do a roll. It doesn't really matter. I'm on the step or a bike, actually, okay? I like this because I can get some low-level cardio in for like 10 minutes, 5-10 minutes, and I can get an extra 1,000 to 2,000 steps in for just some low-level general activity.
Why do you go the stepper and not the treadmill?
Because this gets my heart rate up quicker. The treadmill's like too easy. I need to spend longer there, and I like how it challenges me quicker. But if someone's not as fit, definitely pick something like a treadmill. Then, what could we do after that? We could spend 5 minutes here. Now you have 5 minutes left. Where are you going?
My coach did it last night with me. We just like, alright, go on the bike for 2 minutes, and I did, and then we do some like movement stretching. So like inchworm and world's greatest lunge and rotations, and then stretches like that up and down, and then we went. That was 5 minutes, and that was 5 minutes, and then went straight into like warm up kind of exercising. And
For
then
your actual movement for the session?
Yeah. So we kind of work in like superset and blocks, and then went into like the main lift, which is like chin-ups, main movement.
Great, so what you're telling me, Charlotte, is we go from here, we go here, some movement. How do you think about what movement to pick? Why lunges? Why push-ups? Why inchworms?
Depends on what you do in the session.
Exactly. Don't just be like arbitrary. Have a reason. So, if your first movements are a squat that requires triple flexion, okay, and extension, what's it a good idea to do in this component? What joint actions should we take our body through? What positions?
Ankle dorsiflexion,
Yeah.
flexion,
Yeah,
hip flexion.
absolutely. This is very simple. I'll say it like this. Reverse engineer. I don't need to give you, do a push-up, do a external rotation, do sideline windmills. Like, I don't need to give you all these drills because the drill is contextual to what you're preparing for. If you have an upper body session, we should be doing things that prepare, the extension of the spine for a bench press. If you're doing a squat and deadlift, it's a good idea to probably get some breathing and bracing in there, which you could argue then is a part of this. So then you could go 1, 2. I would definitely encourage you guys to do inside of this. Breathe and brace, which I can show you some drills later. Well, actually no, next week. Yeah, because we're going to do the trunk next week. Because if you're preparing to do a heavy squat or a heavy deadlift and you haven't just at least practiced, at least for a couple of moments, just that feeling, you're probably going to feel more confident doing some type of breathing and bracing, like a different types of plank variations or a knee raise variation, for example. Or I'll show you some other stuff next week. 1, 2, we could spend 2-3 minutes here, and then, really easy, we could spend 1 to 2 minutes here for number 3. And that's it. We don't need to spend, because some people will literally spend 10 minutes doing just tissue work, foam rolling. Now, this is something I've changed my mind on over the years. Now, 1, 2, 3, or you can just go 1, 1, 3, and make it even quicker and easier for yourself. But we get the majority of the benefit from this right here, not from this right here, physiologically. And then here, which you do not have to do for bodybuilders and stuff like that, people who just care about body composition. But I do it because I still want to stay athletic, and I want to feel better, feel more G'd up. So, if we're doing a squat, what vector is the squat in? What direction?
Vertical.
Exactly. And what about a push-up or bench press? Okay, cool. So now, what explosive movement, how do we think about the explosive movement? Which one do we pick? How do we pick it? Exactly, that's it. You don't have to think about, I just got to find the perfect, what should I do for my squat? Should I do a jump? Should I do a static? Or should I do a counter movement? Should I do a broad jump? Broad jump is horizontal. It's not vertical. Just try and match the vector. Very simple. Match the movement. If you're doing a squat, prepare your body to get in positions for a squat. So you could do an explosive push-up, plyo push-up. Anyone done those? You do a squat jump. Counter movement jump. Very simple. So this can be your template right here. Y'all got any questions or comments?
What's a good rowing movement?
Oh, rowing?
Rowing, yeah, for that.
Anybody have any suggestions before I go?
I've seen you do dynamic effort machine row, but would that be?
Look what we have here. What I prepared earlier. How useful. So, let's say one of the first movements is a row. Okay? Why can't this be the dynamic effort movement? Why can't this be? Why can't this be explosive? Can, right? Why not? So you can pick. Geez.
It's hard to get off, man.
So you can make that explosive, and I put that in my warm up. So, for example, if I'm doing, you're talking about a dumbbell row,
Just
any row.
Any sort of row.
So before I'm going to my heavy work set, which is say let's call it 40 kilos, I would then do my warm up sets, which would be 40 to 70% of my working weight. They would be a combination of controlled tempo and explosive. What rep scheme do we think is appropriate for power and explosive dynamic effort movements like this? That's That's pretty important.
3 to 5 reps?
Do you know why?
Not sure why.
Have anybody heard of the ATP system?
You'd fucking hope so, wouldn't you?
Well, they're still learning, bro. They're in module 1.
Oh, sorry, fuck. No, our guy should know.
Yeah.
Fuck, I'd hope so. I but fuck. That's freaked me out, no.
To give you, this is the first energy system that typically gives us phosphocreatine or energy without oxygen for about 10 seconds to work as explosively as possible, as quickly as possible. Think like a sprint. So, just to give you guys something, as a general rule, we pick 3 to 5 reps, 3 to 10 reps, something like that, because if each rep is about 1 second, then we don't want to go over this, because then we notice a decrease in the exact thing we're trying to do. Power, speed, contraction velocity, like all of these things decrease. We want to be powerful and explosive. There's a reason why we pick this kind of 3 to 8, 3 to 6-ish rep range.
Is there a certain dose that you need to get proper excitation of the sense?
Yeah, technically, yes. But I think that's too far deep. I think the principle of it is, as a general rule, 1 to 3 sets will do some good work. Do some good to great work. Because you don't want to get bogged down in trying to be perfect to what the studies say. You just want to adhere to the principles. So, be smart about it, guys. We have your warm-up can integrate into your training. So you have this 10-minute warm-up, but you don't have to think of it like warm-up, and then you have session. Save time, and you know what you do? You blend them together. So the warm-up is integrated also into the beginning of the session. So as you do your first warm-ups, and you can do your first work sets as well. So if we're going for a squat, we can start getting on the bar here. We don't have to wait till this is completely done and we've completely finished all our CNS work. I can do my first warm-up set, then I can do my explosive work down here. And then I go back to do my second work set. My second warm-up set, sorry, it's pretty light. And then I go shortly after to do my next explosive. You could be so much more time efficient that way compared to going 10 minutes, now we're on. No, we're on. As soon as you walk in the door, we're on. The session's on. Warm-up is the session. Don't let your clients fucking drag ass to a warm-up. Hey, session starts. We're on, guys. This is doing work to prepare us and get us on. Does this make sense, the integration?
Yeah.
There's something I learned later on. I'm like, I should have done that earlier. Integrate together. Kez, can I make a request?
Of course you can.
A door.
Oh, I've got one. I just need to get screws.
That'd be awesome.
I could probably go to Bunnings and organise that now. I don't know what I did with them when I took it off. I took the
You
door
just
off.
put them somewhere.
Yeah, and I don't know where I put it.
It's alright.
But yeah, I can organise that.
Bless.
I'll do it now.
Oh, sweet. Thank you. There we go. Now, guys, I want you to create warm-ups. I want you to write them down and then put them in the group. We're going to go, how many do I want here? We're going to go 1 lower body strength and 1 upper body strength. Actually, I'm going to give you all something different. Lockie, you're doing a lower body strength warm-up. Andy, upper body strength. Max, high intensity running session.
That's your specialty, isn't it?
Actually, no, I'm going to swap it because I think you would be more suited to that and you might have some value to give. You're doing the high intensity running session. You're doing the lower body strength. You're welcome.
Thank you.
Manov, lower body plyo power session.
Yeah.
Charlotte, upper body plyo power session. And then Taz, you're actually going to repeat. You're going to do upper body strength warm up. You guys have 5 minutes. Taz, upper body strength warm up. 5 minutes on treadmill, fine. 2 minutes dynamic stretching. What are we doing? What type of dynamic stretching, Taz? If it's upper body, pick one.
Just body rotation sort of thing.
Show me. What do you mean?
Oh, just off the focus.
Okay. Anything else?
Nah.
I would think about the body rotation can just feel good. I would think about adding something else or replacing that with something where you can create an activation as well, something to increase your body temperature. What if you could stretch and have a bit of load? Can someone give Taz something? Maybe Charlotte, because you did upper body. Is there anything else you would add?
Pelvic press, like the side, put a weight on the band if you
Okay.
wanted to.
For our trunk, definitely. Banded scap pulls. Is that hanging from the bar?
Yeah.
Cool. See where you're going with that. Plyo push-up. Beautiful. How can we regress that if someone can't do it? Because not a lot of people can.
Band assisted
Yeah?
push-up.
So you have a band across the bottom of the rack.
Yeah. So what
Across your
then
chest?
is to like put the band on top of the
Yeah.
of the thing,
Yep.
and then come underneath the band,
Yep.
over under your arms, and then
Beautiful. I like that. Nice. Or elevator. No, sorry.
you can do it on the pins as well, and band there, and then come on top.
Exactly. Or if someone's like overweight or not as strong, you can do it against a surface, an elevated surface, and just push against it. Mental vertical throws with squat. What's that?
Oh, it's just when you catch the middle, you squat at the same time.
Okay. I like that because you're integrating a bit of your lower body into it, and your lower body is definitely working when you're doing upper body movements like a bench press. So I like that integration. I would just think about replacing the dynamic stretching with maybe something a little more effective, but other than that, we're good. You guys can now all use those. Beautiful. Questions, thoughts? And you guys notice I'll do that a lot. I love that me and Chris teach this together. I miss him. But you guys will see, good for you guys who see Chris and Woodford so much, get exposure to me.
Yeah.
You've seen me, just whatever. But you guys will notice I'll ask you guys, I want this to be a conversation. I want you guys to engage, to ask questions, to give you guys time to think, to be open to disagree, or maybe I've been exposed to different things like crab walks and shit, and ooh, maybe there's another way. So
We did actually added banded glute bridges, single leg.
nice.
We did add them.
Oh man. Beautiful. That's our warm up. Now, main body. The main body of the session. What principles govern what principles govern our main training session? Have you guys heard of this and what it stands for? Oh, did I just?
Yeah, I was thinking it was
Sorry.
double T.
Sorry. Not bad. It doesn't exist. Oops. What does this stand for? Because this will govern, every client will have a different variation of this. What is this?
Frequency.
Frequency.
Intensity.
Okay. Anybody else? Or maybe no one's heard of it. No one's heard of it.
I haven't heard of it.
Oh, fair enough. Time, type. Okay. How many times are you training with you and your client? How much volume are you doing? This is a very important question, volume. Sessions. Intensity. Are you doing percentage-based loading? Are you doing RPE-based? How hard? That's what intensity is. How hard? Frequency is how frequently. I want to write that in. Time. Time under tension for the actual set. reps, recovery. These are all the questions you guys need to ask. And then session time. How long do you have? Not everybody has 2-3 hours to spend in a gym like me. Okay? That's unreasonable for the average person. And sometimes I'm in there so long, I'm like, God damn. Get out of here. It's great, I love it. Type. Then we talk about speed. Like what category? Like lower body, upper body.
Does that include time, like in season, off season, or?
Yeah, definitely. That's probably like more of a macro up here.
Yeah.
Because that will govern a lot of what you do. That's bad. What frequency should we give somebody, training session wise, for someone who wants to grow muscle, hypertrophy? And what intensity should we aim those sessions to be, generally speaking?
Like how many sessions a week?
Yes, that would be the first start. You want to get someone, a client comes to you, get me jacked. I want to be big, I want to be strong, I want to put on 20 kilos of muscle in the next 2 years. How often, and you could, some clients you have full reign. You can do, they will listen to everything you say. My schedule is free, low stress life, what am I doing? How often am I training?
5 sessions a week.
Why do we pick that?
So
Cool, we'll get
you
to
do a
find
mix of lower body and upper body,
Yeah.
and then that way you can at least get like hit a couple different muscle groups each session.
Good.
Other than that, I'm not too sure.
Okay. You're on the right path. Soon we're going to layer in accuracy and justification to why that is. Taz, what about you? What would you think? Like, what intensity should we aim at the sessions for, generally speaking, for hypertrophy and growing muscle? What do you think? How hard should we be working? How do we gauge that?
Like an RPE of 7-8 or something like that.
Is that something you've seen or just intuitive? Like, what made you pick 7 or 8?
The gym I go to, we work RPEs 7-8.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Is that you get coached?
No.
So how does that work? Is that
Oh, it's like group session.
okay? Nice.
Yeah.
And what do they tell you? So they tell you every session is 7 to 8.
Yeah,
Does
when
it
we're
change?
doing a hypertrophy block, yeah.
Cool. All right, and that's not bad. Like that's you're working in that range. You will be should be stimulating hypertrophy. Okay. A lot of you guys want to work with athletes, but do you guys see why hypertrophy is important for athletes as well, not just people who care about body composition? Like, give me a reason why it's important, why you're going to have to justify to your athlete client why getting bigger is actually important.
Yeah, definitely, especially during the off season.
Yep.
Off season, you want to target that cause. In the end, more resiliency to their muscles. Even they have the chance to like build capacity to hypertrophy. That's why.
A bigger muscle, or the higher cross section of the muscle has more ability to
Bigger
produce
muscle
more
is
force.
stronger.
Yeah, you both are saying the same thing. We'll talk about one factor to hyper. Let's go with this. A bigger muscle has this is the important word, potential, but usually should be, we're just being conservative here, to be stronger. So if our goal is strength, we go here and make that shit bigger. You have a motor unit, equals an alpha motor neuron, and all muscle fibers, it innervates. And this would be this whole thing. It's like the motor unit, the brain up here, sends a signal. If we're warmed up, a strong signal. Down. What's in between here? What's it sending it down?
Central nervous system.
Yeah, brain is part of the central nervous system. What's the other part of the central nervous system? It is part of it. But
Oh, spinal.
Yeah, spinal cord. That's it. Down the spinal cord. Whew. Down to your bicep, to your quad. Tells you, hey, man, I need you to move. I need you to contract. Tells this motor unit to switch on these amount of muscle fibers, all these little muscle fibers in here. Right? Hypertrophy causes adaptations in these muscle fibers and in these motor units and in the central nervous system. Becomes more efficient at doing this. You know when someone learns a skill, like they're really shit at squatting, like they're moving all over the place? Like, it's almost like, there's so many reasons, but their brain hasn't built the capacity to understand how to do this, that signals aren't sending very efficiently, nor do they have many, they don't have many synapses and neurons in their brain that have governed this type of movement and skill. So these motor units, bigger muscle fibers, grow through the training of hypertrophy. So someone who's big, like a bodybuilder, typically pretty strong because these changes here are happening. There are really important. There's three, and we probably think about two, but we're going to start with three main factors to hypertrophy. What do we think they are? How do we get someone jacked?
Metabolic stress, time on the tension, and muscular damage.
Metabolic stress. You said time of attention?
Oh, mechanical tension, sorry. Is that what it's called?
That is what it's called. Very good. Mechanical tension, metabolic stress, mechanical tension,
And muscle damage.
muscle damage. Okay. Anybody know who made this famous? As a famous hypertrophy researcher, one of the biggest researchers, smartest researchers in hypertrophy, or Brad Schoenfeld. Highly recommend listening to a podcast if you want to know more about hypertrophy. In his papers over the last 10, 20 years, he's done so much amazing research and he's found this is fundamentally understood that these three contribute the most to hypertrophy. We're going to explain what they are in a second, I should say. They're the same. That's not helpful at all. Metabolic stress, muscle damage. Okay. If you want to, let's first define them. Mechanical tension, what is that?
That's things like time under tension, isometrics, things like that. The actual time that you're doing the movement.
Not exactly. It's related.
Oh, you're right. No, I think it is related. Yeah, it is.
Think so? Yeah. I'm not going to show you yet. Mechanical tension. How much tension is that muscle under? Right now, doing this, nothing. Just sitting here, very little. Mechanical tension, you need enough load. Your 1 RMs.
Yeah.
The highest level of mechanical tension there are those 1 RMs. So, in simple terms, load. You need enough load. This is not a class of hypertrophy, so I'm just going to spit these things out to you. We think that most of the research right now, consensus, is like how much load percentage of our 1 RM do we think is enough or minimum to stimulate hypertrophy? How much do we need relative to our 1 RM, percentage-wise? 20%, 30%, 80%? If Mike can back squat 100 kilos what do I need to hit enough volume of, percentage-wise?
Be like around 70.
70?
70 or 80.
70 80s.
Taz,
So 75, 80.
you got anything different? About 60. You need, at minimum, about 60% of your 1RM to stimulate enough mechanical tension to drive hypertrophy. This is important because you booty band ladies on Instagram ain't doing shit for hypertrophy. I don't care if they're developing a lot of muscle damage and metabolic stress. It will have some small to moderate effect, but the number one driver for hypertrophy is this bad boy right here, mechanical tension. Number two, metabolic stress. Muscle damage, new research coming out that maybe not as important, so it's like a eh. I'll say this. Eh. 1, 2, eh. Okay? These two is two things we focus on. We need enough load. Check. Need to lift heavy enough. Makes sense. Metabolic stress. What is that? Yeah. Like what? What metabolic byproducts could build up that we should be aware of? Good boys. Good guys.
So lactic acid.
Careful, there's something. Let me help you with that. I'd get out of the habit of saying lactic acid. The actual end byproduct is lactate. We'll be specific. I don't want to go down that rabbit hole right now, but if you guys can, you can message me, put it in the group, I can show you some stuff on it, if you want to know. But, lactate, how can we describe this buildup of lactate and hydrogenized to our clients, particularly hydrogenized?
Burn.
The burn. Okay, good. Now, people think this is bro shit, but actually, driving metabolic stress, we know is linked to hypertrophy, and actually, feeling this burn is a proxy for hypertrophy and DOMS. Anybody know what DOMS is?
Delayed onset muscle soreness.
Delayed onset muscle soreness, just muscle soreness, okay, that you feel after training, is linked to it, which has links to hypertrophy. I'm not saying you need to feel DOMS, but feeling DOMS is not necessarily a bad thing in and of itself, and it does have a link to hypertrophy. Particularly driven by these two, particularly driven by metabolic stress. Now, good for hypertrophy. What's this not good for in training? What are we talking? Pain power. Very good. Why? Have a go. Why is the buildup of metabolites not ideal for power, speed development? What does it interrupt?
To do with the muscle contractions interrupts the process.
Yeah, it does. You're on the money, Andy. I'll give you layman's terms unless anybody else has something.
It reduces the effectiveness. They get the muscles too acidic, the neurons don't fire properly, or something like that, isn't it?
You're on the path. Okay. Hydrogenized. Okay, I like doing this. This is cool to know. Hydrogenized increase when you get fatigued. Okay? I want to feel a burn. The CrossFit classes aren't developing a lot of power and speed if they're doing high rep work of their Olympic weightlifting. They're developing a lot of muscular endurance under fatigue, which is fine, but let's not get that mixed up, because hydrogenized, increased fatigue. This decreases the pH of
The muscle.
muscle. Yeah. Hydrogenized. Build up. Decreases the pH of the muscle. Decreases in pH, it's like you become more like a lemon. Okay? Why do I say that? Because you won't forget it.
Never heard that.
There's a pH, you have alkaline, and you have acidic. Okay? Your stomach acid, I'd love to talk about this, but it's not in the scope right now. Your stomach acid should be acidic. Your gastrointestinal tract should be acidic to help digest and assimilate nutrients. Anybody take antacids, stomach lowering? Awesome. You don't want to do that if you want to be able to digest food properly. So, lemon is about 2 pH. Stomach acid, when you're digesting food, be about 2 to 3. So, lemon, gut, or not gut, stomach.
That's so funny.
Lemon, you become a lemon. You don't want to be a lemon, or do you?
I thought, isn't stomach acid a 1?
It's a range.
Oh.
So as like sitting in a resting state now, it'll sit about like 4 to 5. It can go all the way from there to about like 1 to 3 when you're digesting food, which is good. And then the small intestine is a bit less acidic because you don't want to burn away your intestine. Can't be that acidic. So your muscles become more like a lemon. pH decreases. This decreases.
Neurons.
We don't even have to get that specific.
Muscular contractions.
That's it. Force output. Decrease force output. Decrease the ability to excitate those neurons to create a contraction. But let's just go more simple. Hydrogens. Build up. Fatigue. Decrease pH. Decreases force output. Makes sense why you can't do as many reps, why you can't lift as much load when you're fatigued. Because of this. Are we cool? Makes sense. If you understand how to do this, like you can get anyone bigger and stronger. And more powerful. Because now you know, this is another reason why we don't do the over like 10 reps for our power work. Because all of this will build up. So, back up, hypertrophy. Okay. Oh, crazy. Mechanical tension, you need enough load, 60%. Metabolic stress. How do you know, like, how can you develop metabolic stress? What examples do we have here? You said it before.
Time and attention.
Time and attention.
Thank you. I was trying to just roll through what I was saying.
Congratulations. Time and attention. What's another thing that develops a lot of metabolic stress? You guys know this intuitively as well. What type of muscle contraction?
Repeated?
Well, everything's repeated, isn't it? Eccentric.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. You do like a slow lowering in your reps. You build up a lot of time and attention. Alright. Here's what I prepared earlier over the last 10 years of my life.
Something you pulled through last night.
Huh?
Just something you pulled up last night.
Yes. Pull it up, Jamie. Right here. And muscle damage is also linked to eccentric training as well. But you guys can see I put some examples in here. Does anybody read studies? Like you don't lie to me too, to make you sound like a nerd.
Only to uni.
Like, will anybody be
I've
like,
read that.
hey?
I've read
Yeah, cool. Anybody else? I don't want to just give it to you if it's not helpful.
Yeah, probably read that.
Probably big, but really cool. If you want to know about hypertrophy, there's that seminal paper. Oops. Cool. Any questions on hypertrophy so far? Just want you to remember 60% metabolic stress, you need enough. Now, coming off. You want your athletes to be bigger and stronger. You want them to be stronger so that you need to be bigger. Oh, but I'm going to get slow. How do you counter that? You have to, first of all, you have to accept that putting on enough fat mass, you will get slower for a period of time. What do you say when your athlete says, I want to get slower? What would you have an answer? Huh?
Just be quick.
Just don't.
Just don't be slow.
It's like the old fat argument. Oh,
I'm
I'm fat. Just don't be fat. I'm unfit. Just don't be unfit. I'm motivated, right? I'm unmotivated. Just be motivated.
Just be confident.
That's the one. No, that was the one. Yeah. Because we were talking about confidence, you guys are coaching. If anybody has any thing for this, that'd be great. First, accept it's going to happen. Number 2, it's a phase. You need to go through this phase so you have a higher potential later on. Number 3, you do power speed work continually while you're bulking. I do it while you're putting on mass. Do med ball, plyo, jumps, etc. If you stop, okay, I can tell you, when I was at my leanest, I was around 69 kilos, okay? Just extremely lean. You can scroll back through it, strength side, you'll see. Like 4%-ish body fat. So, over the last 2 years, some of your athletes and yourself, you might do this, I'm now here, okay? What is that? 17 kilos. Can you imagine if I did no plyometrics, no jumps, no sprints, no running, and then I just started doing it here? You need to be careful with your athletes, because if you then start introducing all these new loads here at a heavier body weight, their ligaments, tendons will not be adapted to the new stress, because now they have another 10, 20 kilos on their frame. And that's where you can get tendonitis, tendinopathy, inflammatory joint issues, patellofemoral pain, just like knee pain, injuries through this big acute stress. So you need to be conservative if someone has not done their power and explosive athletic work. But if you want to manage that, just keep doing it to like a low to moderate extent. Maintain it. Okay. Questions? Thoughts? No. Easy. 2 types of hypertrophy now. Sarcoplasmic, myofibrillar. Do this. When we think, and we may be wrong, but this is at least what we have been thinking. Oh, and here's a diagram on it too. Because different types of training will elicit a different type of response. This is sarcoplasmic, this is myofibrillar. Here, the actual protein and fiber size is increasing in size. Increasing. Here, the fluid and contents in here is increasing. So some people say, well, we think that this type of training is more representative of high rep, more endurance, bodybuilding style, 8 to 12 plus reps, and the myofibrillar may be stimulated more by more mechanical tension, more like powerlifting, Jeremy Borzillo spec. If you know, you know.
Hatfield.
Yeah. Under 6 rep type business. Now, some people even go as far to say, you know, when some people got, their muscle looks real dense. They just look really thick and dense. Some, I don't have evidence for this. I have some, but I don't know if it's literature research. Some people say that maybe this is what can get you a really dense physical look, and this can get you more of like a fuller look, from like a hypertrophy muscle standpoint. You're welcome to fact check that. But people are like, oh, train like a bodybuilder, train like a powerlifter. How can we like manage this?
Do both.
Just do both.
There's a conjugate programming.
Conjugate.
Yeah, we could talk about that. That's even further because now you have like power and dynamic effort stuff, but that definitely lends into this. You have one day for here, one day for here, but that's not optimal for hypertrophy. To be clear, for example, like if you want to put on the most amount of muscle as possible, you'll spend most of your time doing this type of work because this type of work is very fatiguing. Doing heavy work, compounds, for example, is very fatiguing, and you can only recover from so much, which will take away from this. However, I'm an example, I do it with my clients, like we do a bit of a hybrid where we will have compounds in here, but carefully put in there in the training week and phase. We might have a deadlift or one squat throughout the week, and then the rest is more of a specialized hypertrophy. So this is what we think may be happening. And then here is some, you guys want to read. You can see here, sarcoplasmic, the fluid inside, ATP, glycogen, creatine, water volume increases in your muscle cells. Myofibril increases in volume and density of the myofibrils. And, very important, I wrote this somewhere, I got rid of it. Who knows, have anybody heard of actin and myosin?
Yep.
What are they?
I think actin is the, myosin is the parts that connect the two muscle fibers together, and then actin is the one that moves it, or the other way around.
Let's zoom out even a little bit and we'll just go, yeah.
Well, it is layers of muscle fibers.
Okay.
Layers of muscle fibers. And
Yeah,
muscles
really.
At the end of it. Yeah.
Yes. And they pull on each other to create a contraction, and they cross bridge against each other to create a contraction. Anyway, that's way too complex physiology. We don't need to talk about that too much. The point is, these filaments will increase in size. These tiny little blueberry things will increase in size through myofibril hypertrophy, which is cool because the contractions then can be bigger and stronger and more powerful.
But they won't with sarcoplasm.
Maybe not as much if we prescribe to this theory, which some people dispute. Okay. We have talked about, we know we need mechanical tension. We know we need metabolic stress. But if we go back to the FIT principle, frequency, how much volume do we give? Because this now, I would say there are two reasons, there's a couple of reasons actually, there's many reasons why, I said a couple. What I'm saying is there's many reasons why it has taken me so many years to like fundamentally change my body composition, and this would be one of them. Until I realized the amount of volume that was needed to stimulate and maximize hypertrophy and strength. First of all, what is it? What is hypertrophy?
What is it?
Sorry. What is volume? What is volume?
Total load.
Total load over a certain time. Yeah. There's an easier way to say it though.
Sex by reps, by the way.
Yes. Yes. Sets times. Some people stop here. You guys need to understand that it's not a universal definition, but generally this is accepted. Sets times reps, or sets times reps times load. And in my programming tracker, which Lockie has invested in, but I will show you. You want to be able to track in your programs because volume is a really important marker for hypertrophy. So if we zoom in here, you guys can see, here, we can see we have 79 sets of volume across the week. And here, let's look at chest. We have 12 sets of volume for chest, 9, this is per week by the way, 9 for shoulders, 11 bicep. There's more on legs, there's more on back. It's obviously focused more on legs and back here. And then, automatically calculates, you guys can do this in your own programs, you want to be able to see if there's progression happening, right? Well, you can see it here, because this is a formula that has all these equations in it to automatically add up everything that's in there and then compare it against the previous week. So you can visually see whether there is progression happening, which you want to be able to see. Instead of looking, this is what I used to do. I didn't have this in the past, I'm gonna hide this. And you look, you're just trying to see. You spend so long looking at each individual one.
Is
It's a bit easier.
on your first exercise it says H12/12, 12 to 20.
Yeah.
How does that work?
Oh, it's the third set. So three,
Three
sorry,
by
it's the fourth
12
set. 3 by
and one longer set.
yeah, 1 by 12 to 20. Actually, I forgot to do that last time. Oh no, I didn't. No, I didn't. I did it. Yes.
Do you have your program set up that it automatically calculate, or like you've got it set up to, it knows which muscle groups you're hitting for the one above, or do you have to manually go?
No, it's automatic, baby. Saves a lot of time. So, for example, I get excited about it because I just think we should use better systems as coaches, and we shouldn't like. It saves time and makes us better coaches. So, I'll give you an example. If I go 2 there, you see that change. If I go 10 there, you see that change at the top. Cool.
But if you put in like seated leg curl, it doesn't automatically recognize that as legs, but you just have to
No.
change it in that
Oh,
next
okay.
column
That-
to legs.
yeah, that's what I was
So
gonna
that's
say.
just like a drop down. That's pretty easy.
Yeah, exactly.
I was gonna say that's what I thought you'd done. I was like, that's fucking awesome.
Biceps.
Okay, so you just manually change it. Yeah.
Because then that would require a database
Yeah.
that would need to match the exact one, which you could do.
But that would be too much time.
We've done that
It's
for our
just- it's not
nutrition.
a
It's
hard.
not needed because it's just real quick.
Yeah.
Flip it done. Anyway, I encourage you guys to play with something like that. Volume. Sets. Oh, can't show you that. Sets times reps times load. How much volume? How many sets now? Now we're going to talk about sets. How many sets do we need to maximally stimulate hypertrophy per week, per muscle group, per session? If you know something called Krieger's volume landmarks, don't say it yet. But do we have any idea?
3 to 4.
3 to 4
Got sets
per.
session per exercise.
We're just spitballing.
Like, if you want to build bigger arms, you go 3 by 12 bicep builds, something like that.
Right.
I have nothing to back that up. I'm just, that's just what.
There's a reason bodybuilders do it, right?
Yeah.
There's a reason it works. High rep schemes. Anybody heard of Krieger's volume landmarks? Okay, so you have. Alright, cool. Was it because we did it in class last time? Okay, we've done this. You've been exposed to this. Well, good. I'll test you. Do you remember it?
It's right here.
Okay, you can't read it then. But I'm going to show you guys. Okay. This is, you need to know this. Because why the fuck would you put 2 sets in versus 5 sets? Why would you put 10 sets in a session versus 20 sets? I don't know. That's not good enough. Like, we need to have an answer. So we do have an answer based on research and like a whole bunch of anecdotal evidence. And that's Krieger's volume landmarks. And that states that we should get about, I'm going to change these numbers a little bit because they've been updated recently. 6 to 10 sets per muscle per session. Then about 10 to 20 sets per muscle per week. Can you see that? Yes, we can. I said it says 12 to 18 there. Opened it up a little bit They've been recently updating it, but really the exact number isn't important, but you want to stay approximately within these guidelines. People say train movement patterns, not muscles. You've heard that, right?
Yeah.
And this is like, I don't know, it's a bit of a dogmatic approach. Like, it almost discredits like the whole hypertrophy bodybuilding community as well. It's like, no, you do both. I don't know why we always have to pick, like, vegan, carnivore, like, hypertrophy, powerlifting, like, integrate them together. There's principles to be taken from both. So you can train movement patterns, but you damn well better have an idea of how many sets you want to target if you care about strength and particularly hypertrophy. So James Krieger is the researcher. He has found these, and this is like very well accepted and respected. This is not like something we're like arguing about now. Very well accepted and respected with natural athletes. Okay? That doing this amount of work and volume will elicit hypertrophy. An important caveat is for isolation movements, I don't know why I did a hyphen, isolation, you can afford to increase the volume more. So I should say isolation / smaller muscle groups. Why is that? So,
Not as taxing.
yeah, exactly. They're not as fatiguing. You can drive more of a stimulus through them. Like you can put more volume through them to drive growth. So, look, there's an argument that you might hit even 10 to 30 sets for your smaller muscle groups per week. Okay. We're going to talk about, is that cool? Is that clear? Awesome. Now this needs to be like tattooed in your brain. Like you need to have this next to you when you're writing your programs. Like, am I hitting my volume landmarks? I go up to the top. All right, you guys can see this is my. I didn't write this. I have a coach. We have 17 for legs. It's on the higher end. So you can see what's being prioritized now. Back 14. Okay, it's in that range. But look, calves 5. Obviously not prioritizing that.
Maybe you should.
Got bigger calves than everyone in here. Champ. But that's because of running. That's because of sprinting and basketball. I don't really care about growing that.
How are you doing, Brad?
You okay?
Yeah, your sister's here. She said she needs to quickly talk to you. Do you have a break coming up?
Yeah, we do soon.
Cool. I'll let her know.
Thank you. All right. Shoulders, biceps. You see the example. Cool. All right. Now, intensity. How hard are we working? Actually, Taz, you said something before. Because you can do all this volume, but like, I can lift a bottle. That's not enough intensity, is it? I'm not going to get jacked doing that. How hard? RPE.
Within 60% of your max load.
That's the load, definitely. As a percentage, we can use percentage,
Roughly.
but percentage is not where we're going to go for measuring intensity.
Okay.
Probably 7 to 8 plus.
Yeah, so that's what you said, Taz, right?
Yeah.
You said 7 to 8 was what your guys do?
Yeah.
Well, that's pretty much on the money. RP, I use reps and reserve. They're pretty much the same thing, but reps and reserve helps me understand it quicker. Because like a 7 RPE, you have to work backwards. But reps and reserve, I can see how many reps in the tank do we have. They say the same thing, but you will typically see the consensus on the research of like what intensity we need to work at to hit this volume. So this volume needs to be worked at somewhere between 0 to 4 reps in reserve. Probably, ideally, 0 to 3. Away from failure. Most people are really shit at calculating failure. They underestimate it dramatically. Like there's studies on like people like general population like underestimating it by like 5 to 10 reps. So if you're 5 to 10 reps away, you're not training hard enough. A lot of this is actually that wasn't a problem for me, but a lot of the problem with people is they're just not training hard enough. You think they are. Like we might train a lot, but it doesn't mean you're training hard enough and smart enough. So 0 to 3 reps in reserve, which, as you guys can see, what's at the bottom there? We have a reps in reserve model, bam, right here. 2 to 1, 2 to 1. And right now, it's just every week is 1 to 0 right now until I plateau. Because this is now an extension of an old program that started at 3 reps in reserve. So
Why are you doing that? Like, surely you're just absolutely cool.
I'm actually not. I've had moments, but I'm still actually progressing in 80% of things. Plus.
Get jacked.
How many times a week do you train?
5 weight training. And then the off days would be a sauna.
Is that 5 in a row, or is
No.
it just, okay.
I can do 5 in a row. If I need to do it, I'll do it if I'm going away. But that's another thing we'll talk about, is how to structure it. You'll typically have a day in between if you can do it to recover. Or you'll put your most taxing days away from each other. Something you guys should know is how you want to structure your microcycle is if you have a lower body, you have a deadlift day, deadlifts are pretty taxing. When would be a good time to do that in general?
Away from your squats.
Okay.
Away from your squats. Maybe it's like start of the week.
Depends, doesn't it? On like the
Start, yeah, depends.
I have a deadlift and a squat. Should I put them close to each other or far away?
Far
further
away.
away.
Yeah, probably.
For an athlete though, like I know, like I've spoken to Chris about this. Say if like an athlete's got like a game day on the weekend, he says you should probably put squats first because more eccentric loading rather than a deadlift.
Yeah.
Probably should be doing both. Though. Like, if you're in the middle of competition phase and you're doing like heavy deadlifts and heavy, I wouldn't say you're doing heavy deadlifts and heavy squats.
Yeah, you probably wouldn't.
You could be doing
Sure.
both, but one would probably be like, don't know.
Especially in season.
Yeah. But even if you're in an off season, yeah, you'll keep them further apart. Whether you start one or the other with the start of the week is subjective. Like I wouldn't test that. And you want to use your recovery days like carefully. Like if you're particularly taxed after your deadlift day, that could be a rest day here. If you're training 5 days, you only have 2 rest days. If you're training 4 days, you have 3. So you would typically split them intelligently after your most taxing day or before your most taxing day. Volume, intensity, frequency. How often should we train these muscle groups? Should we do it all in the one session? How many times a week should we split this volume across the week? Lockie says 2. Anybody else say anything differently?
Maybe like how often we should train hypertrophy a week or
The muscle groups.
The muscle group.
Oh,
Like
right.
split this volume.
probably 2, yeah. I'd say 2.
Cool. You guys are right. So the consensus is that we could probably get the best hypertrophy and strengthen hypertrophy from splitting the volume around 2, maybe 3 if needed. Because
when you get to 3 though, wouldn't that be like you'd be sort of failing to recover as well? Like 2 gives you more recovery time on the muscle groups? Or are you more looking at a overall volume?
hitting overall volume, but also considering that like a larger muscle group you might hit 2,
Yeah.
but a smaller muscle group you might hit 3,
Yeah, true.
which you can recover obviously faster from. So the context is really important. But I used to have like my main lower body day where I'd have like, man, I had like 16 sets or 18 sets, a lot of sets of volume in the one session. That's the one I did with you. So you guys remember, I did the one that's an example of not as ideal for hypertrophy. Yeah, put it. But psychologically really difficult and will challenge you deeply. But as you can see here, greater increases in muscle cross-sectional area and strength when training volume was divided into 2 sessions as opposed to 1. So, volume. We know how much to work, we know how hard to work, we know how frequently to work. Are we missing anything? Do you have any questions? Thoughts?
How would you, like with the reps and reserves, how would you, I guess, go about finding how many you got left for that session?
Yeah, what did we do with you? Huh? Yeah, we did. And so, one thing you guys, because most people will not be able to tell this from the beginning, they'll learn. It's a skill. You can do an AMRAP, so you can finish, as a finisher, you can use AMRAPs to teach you. Anyone know what this stands for?
As many reps as possible.
Yeah, exactly. You can use AMRAPs or ALAPs as long as possible, if you're holding something, to figure out what this is. Because most people will underestimate it. So you can use it as a finisher, as a last set. So on the last set of maybe every lift, we're going to go AMRAP. Or, I was going to show you in my program. Here, you say you can, this is not the best example actually, because you guys, get out of here. Here. You go from 2 and you eventually get to like a 1 to 0 reps in reserve. And you can find that out in your week 5 and 6 or later in the phase. So there's 2 ways we can do it. Well, there's a couple of ways, but those are 2 main ways we can do it, Andy. AMRAP, we put it in our later session. And this is what's fulfilling as a coach. You can really push someone to those limits and you can really see what they're capable of. Like, oh, I thought, how many, you ask them. I always ask your clients like how many reps in the tank they have. Not always, but make sure you do it. So they can build some awareness. How many reps do you think more you could do? And people are really bad at estimating like if it's like above 4 or 5. So you can like, if it looks easy, you can say, do you think like more than 5 reps or under 5 reps? If they tell you more than 5 reps, you know, but you're probably not working hard enough. That's why we call them working sets. Thoughts? Questions? Do you want to take a small break? Yeah? Alright, let's do it. And then, if you guys need to go to the bathroom, go to the bathroom, do your thing. Then after you guys come up, Max, you're going to take everybody through a strider with rotation. And Charlotte, you're going to take everybody through the archer, what do you call it?
Yeah,
Yeah, you're going to take them through that. Cool.
Oh, I can't decide.
Comfy couches, sometimes too comfy.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Man, Imagine if the heater was on, you guys would be full
Oh,
of
dude,
sweat.
I already am.
And I'm like prone to falling asleep when it,
Factors to strength. We talked about hypertrophy, 3 factors to strength. What are they? 1, 2, 3. Yeah, good standing desk. I actually really like that. You guys are welcome to do that. You guys do not have to sit the whole time. You can do this. You can pull up anything you want, okay, to get comfortable. Anyway, so we know how to get big now and strong, but also what if you just want to focus on strength? What's important? Well, we said one of them before.
Intensity load.
muscular size.
That's the one. That's one we said before. Like CSA, cross-sectional area of the muscle. So the muscle fibers available to recruit. A bigger muscle has the potential to be stronger because its cross-sectional area is larger. Fibers and motor units changing and adapting. So that's at a local level. What about zoom out? What else?
Is it nervous system? Is it, I don't know what exact, is it neuron, neurals?
Have you guys read this in your module? Is that why?
Oh,
Because you guys are on
maybe,
the same
maybe
page.
actually.
It's good.
It might have been in there.
Central nervous system.
I can't remember the word, is it efficiency?
Yeah, let's be like simple first, complex later. CNS efficiency, like I said with the brain and spinal cord, like action. I like to do this. See if these will work. Okay. Awesome. Okay. This is the example. You can show your clients this, you can show other coaches this, you ever upskill in the future. I know that sounds like, what are you talking about? Why would I ever upskill a coach? It will happen. Crazy, because I did a hydration for performance seminar workshop for free for the interns. Did any of you see that?
I think I saw it.
Wasn't Manov there?
Yeah.
Obviously, I meant the video I put on YouTube.
Oh, right.
Anyway, I used to be an intern for Woodford's, and then 7 years later, I'm like teaching one of the internships in a class, which is pretty cool. Point is, you guys might be in this situation. You can use this. Brain, spinal cord, switch on. What's that like? You get a stimulus to lift weights, trigger movement. Signal, brain. This is the stimulus. There's wiring in the walls. And then the muscle is the light. And it flicks it on. If you increase your body temperature, if you do your warm-ups, you can make this go faster. It switches on the light faster and the light is brighter. You do explosive power speed work. This is what CNS efficiency is right here.
Oh, it just stopped working.
I broke it. No. That's what CNS efficiency is. Think of it like a light switch and a switch. What's another factor here? One of the main factors. Last factor. Size, efficiency. What about the output?
Power.
That is output, but it's not. Hey? No. 3 factors to strength. Force.
I feel like that's too.
Development.
Not load.
Time.
What time?
Tension, under tension.
Speed?
Yeah, I'll just do
Was time right? Or was time part of that?
So like
Like do half of the neck letter.
It's like hangman.
tempo.
Hey?
Temperature? Test.
Have you received on TV?
Is it actually? Oh, I was like, no way, that's it.
Test.
Get on the
What
test.
about females? They can't
Yes,
get
get on
strong.
the test.
No. Oh, females have gnarly symptoms from getting on testosterone.
What?
masculinization, heavy emotional, very emotionally aggressive, they lose their period.
Isn't that why they would want to do it though? Like, why else would a woman go on?
No, but I mean like hair growth.
Oh, right.
They
Yeah,
lose
like-
their period if they go on track.
Sorry?
They lose their period.
I'm talking about like testosterone, like
Yeah.
most steroids.
Do they lose their periods?
Yeah, like most likely, it commonly happens, but and then as well, just so you guys know, in a caloric deficit, when a woman is in a deficit for longer, and she gets lean enough, particularly our professional athletes who are very lean, they at some point will lose their cycle. You think about from an
Their body needs
evolutionary,
to-
hey,
It's
their
like
body needs to-
fat.
yeah, to support life, to grow a fetus, to support what it is to harbour a child, and so it wouldn't. It's evolutionary makes sense that if you get too lean, you can't support the nutrients and calories to support an infant, a fetus.
That's interesting. 'Cause
Is
that makes sense.
is that permanent?
No.
Once you lose it, no.
No, like a lot of my girls is like about when I work with them, it's like how do we help restore a healthy menstrual cycle, because that's so important to their hormones and their health and their libido and their energy, their performance. Anyway, we're not talking about test. It's come out of the hole. Technique,
Skill. Yeah.
the skill. If you are really shit,
We're saying time and
Time.
test.
temperature. Think about a bodybuilder who's got really big and strong. They have this one, but they're not. This is related, by the way. Efficiency is governed by technique and practice. We're talking about practice? Who knows that? Oh, that's a shame. No one knows what I just said. Allen Iverson? No. Alright, we'll move on.
Apologies.
Make jokes to myself. Strength development, size. Efficiency, light switch, technique. If you have a bodybuilder who does a single leg RDL, they're going to be strong enough to do the single leg RDL or the jump, but they're going to have really poor technical efficiency. So you might say they're not strong enough, but their technique hasn't been developed to be able to express the strength. You need technique to express strength. I like that.
That makes sense.
That
Yeah.
explanation. I don't think I've said that before. I've heard it before. I don't think I've said it before.
Well, it makes sense, yeah.
We need an adequate foundation of technique, like a foundation and skill acquisition and learning to occur. So this is basically learning. And learning is best done under what type of conditions? A fatigued or non-fatigued state? Yeah, absolutely. Like, again, they've done studies on this. I keep saying that because, like, I guess I'm a nerd in some ways. I like reading studies and shit. But when I was doing, I think it was motor learning and biomechanics in Singapore when I was on exchange. We did a motor learning subject, and we looked at how fatigue impacted learning. And this is really important for your team-based sports because high fatigue before learning a new skill is terrible for skill acquisition. So, what sport do you play, Taz?
Rugby and football.
Right. You think about, what if we do a hard running session, a hard weight training session, and then we're going to learn a new type of tackle. Or we're going to learn a new way to mark or change direction. That high fatigue state leads to poor learning outcomes. Like, you guys should remember that because that's going to help you structure your weeks and months better. And if you're coaching teams, it's not a good idea to put high fatigue before new skills. Want more info? Oh, yeah, go.
Well, just with that, our rugby coaches say that's for mental toughness or something like
Yeah.
that. So does that?
Old school way of looking at it.
Yeah. So I don't know if that's the right way to do it or.
Just learn it.
It's a point, man. Mental toughness is really important. We need to practice that as well. But the distinction would be, is it a new skill you're learning, or is it an older skill that you're pretty confident with, that you're doing these mental toughness drills and stuff in?
It's usually an older skill.
Would there be a benefit to doing a skill?
Hold on, real quick, because that's important. That's a distinction that's important. I would say that's fine. You're telling me you've done something for years, like a kick or a mark or a tackle. Your fatigue will impact your ability to express the skill, but if you've squatted for 1,000 times and then I tell you to do an AMRAP, after 3 years of squatting, you do an AMRAP, and then after 3 months of squatting, you do an AMRAP, you will be stronger here, but your technique and CNS will be so far greater. You'll be able to tolerate this AMRAP better. You'll be able to tolerate the mental toughness session much better because you've done that technique so much, it's ingrained. You can keep that skill to a high quality, like Kobe Bryant being able to shoot free throws at the line with a torn Achilles or at the end of a fourth quarter. Why can they do that? Because that is ingrained in their brain. New skill is not. Sorry, Lockie.
Is there a benefit would there be a benefit in learning to perform skills in a fatigue state?
I think there is.
Yeah.
What do we think?
Because if you never do it in a fatigue state in training, then you're not going to know it's time to do it.
I think psychologically, it has great benefit.
Yeah.
Like, how do you deal with fatigue when you have to do your 50th tackle, your 50th jump shot or kick?
Especially, sorry.
I was just going to say, if you've never been exposed to that, just like Chris said, you've never been exposed to this heavy training. You don't know mentally what those 1RMs are like yet, but now you do. What do you say?
Yeah, because like in terms of performance point of view, in a match, you're always in a fatigue state. Yeah, you're never fresh. So especially the longer you're playing, the later stages you're playing the game for, and you want to use that skill. You need to be being that you already need to be used to used to be in fatigue state to get that skill right.
Yeah, so from what I understand, you practice being in a fatigue state so you can express it and have a greater ability to do it in a game?
Yeah.
Okay.
So the argument's going to make either way. Like,
Hey?
you can argue it either way.
Yeah, because then the fatigue's going to impact your performance.
Like, you don't want to learn the skill in a
No.
fatigue.
Not new skill.
Yeah.
Yeah, only works on
old skills we
yeah.
can practice, but you would do both. Because you know what happens when fatigue is high. Output is low, or lower, particularly force output, okay? So you need an environment to increase force output and general skill in a non-fatigue state to increase your maximal output, okay? This maximal output. And then we have another term, and this is from Jay Ellis, one of the greatest coaches I've known. And then you have your operational output. Oh, I did a post on this. This is what you do in game and in comp. If you run at the maximum you can run, it's going to give you just an arbitrary, is 10 kilometers per hour. Okay? But in game, I should do this. It's on average 8 kilometers per hour. If all you do is train and prepare in this fatigue state, like OG coaches do, we're preparing psychological toughness, absolutely. But if that's all you do, then you don't get a chance to increase your maximal output. For example, if I do this off-season or pre-season of increasing my maximal outputs, what if I now run 10.5 or 11 kilometers per hour? I'm running faster. That's what you'll do. Now your operational output just went from 8 to 8.5 to 9. Not because you necessarily trained in a fatigue state, but because you trained in a non-fatigue state, increase your maximal output. But if you do both, you can also increase your ability to buffer lactate and hydrogen which can increase this as well. So, but increase your maximal output and your game output will improve. Maximal operational. Is that okay? All right. 3 factors of strength. We have the hypertrophy. We have this understanding of training in a fatigued and non-fatigued state and skills. Awesome. I think there's probably one last thing. Oh, which questions, thoughts?
I like it.
I'm glad.
Love it.
Just learn it.
Okay.
Just don't be fatigued. Just learn the skill.
Okay, so
Better.
last thing. Microcycle. What is it? What is a microcycle?
A week block.
It is, yes.
Methods.
We have micro, macro, mesocycle. We're going to start with the micro. Micro, you need to know this. It's like it's just 1 week of training. So it's 5 to 8 days, give or take. Just call it 1 week of training. However long it takes you to go through 1 week of training. Usually 7. Okay? We're going to go through a case study and we're going to apply this to the microcycle. Do I have something here? Okay. We have off-season. Oh, actually, no, we're going to use someone real. Taz, we'll use you. You will be our case study. What's your training goal right now? We're going to build you out a microcycle.
Oh, so what was that one?
What's your training goal right now? Like, what do you care about? Like strength, power, hypertrophy, all the above?
Just maintaining strength.
Maintaining strength?
Yeah.
Anything else?
Hypertrophy.
Okay. We've got Taz, we've got strength and hypertrophy. Maintaining, you want to get stronger? Are you good? You said maintaining strength?
Yeah, in season.
Oh, you're in season.
Yeah.
Got it. Good to know.
You can still, just a question, you can still build strength in season as well.
Yes, absolutely. Maybe not as easy with recovery, but it can still happen. But you absolutely, at minimum, you want to maintain.
Yeah.
Got you. We might do this for Taz's off season. I'm going to put you in the off season, Taz. Off season. How many days a week you want to train, or can you train? Weight train.
Maybe 4 or 5.
I'm going to give you 4, because you might have some skill work in there. All right, guys. How do we build out the microcycle from Monday to Sunday? What types of sessions are we putting and where?
Monday strength,
What type of
low
strength?
body.
Lower body strength. Okay, if anybody has any objections or ideas,
Your sport was football, yeah? Football, rugby?
Yeah.
Yeah. lower body strength.
Tuesday, upper body strength with skill work.
Okay. Charlotte, where should we put a recovery day? Or what next should happen? Maybe we need to build it out first.
We've got lower body.
Remember our volume, you definitely repeat things.
Can you put in like a conditioning day?
Absolutely.
Yeah, I would probably go conditioning in the middle and
Nice.
then,
Because now the conditioning can act as a bit of recovery
Yeah.
from the weight training. Very good. I like doing that too. Thursday. Or any of the other days.
Or maybe what I'll do is use skills in Monday as put skill work on Monday instead of Tuesday. Use Tuesday as a recovery for low body.
So Tuesdays are
Just upper body.
just
Like a recovery day. Going hard but like recovery for the legs.
Thursday.
Again, low body. Skill work.
What type of lower body session?
So if you're going to do squats on Monday, deadlifts on Thursday.
Hypertrophy.
Okay, got you. hypertrophy.
And that's
This is
true.
a strength session. Upper body strength session. Deadlift. Okay, so we have only one more weight training, but he will be doing other work as an athlete.
I would put speed into conditioning probably on a Wednesday,
Okay.
and then I'd go, I would just put that first upper body session, I would make it a hypertrophy, and then I'd put upper body strength on a, sorry, I'm going too fast.
That's
am I?
okay.
And then I'd go upper body strength on the Friday, and then conditioning on the Saturday, and then rest Sunday. Make Saturday main conditioning.
Okay, so Lockie will do conditioning and speed here.
But speed first, obviously.
Yeah. You would move this strength.
I would move upper body strength because
Yep.
you're probably going to be a bit fatigued still, like CNS a bit fatigued from the lower body strength the day
Okay.
before
So where would you move that?
to Friday.
By the way, this is not permanent. We're just putting the idea out here. And then you make this hypertrophy.
I'd make that
Yeah,
hypertrophy. And then Saturday,
What would you do on Tuesday then?
Tuesday is upper body.
upper body hypertrophy.
Yeah.
So do
You
lower
make-
body strength, upper body hypertrophy,
And then-
conditioning speed,
Yeah.
lower body
Okay.
strength. Lower body hypertrophy and upper body strength.
Okay.
Friday, and then Saturday, main conditioning, and can do extra skills if need be.
Sunday,
Rest.
Rest.
he gets to rest. He gets to do nothing. This is actually pretty. Some people really value this. Some people really value their weekends and their Sunday. You know, particularly if they're religious. Like this is the day that really like people assimilate God rested, right? A lot of the population is Catholic and Christian, so that is a day that has meaning to people. I train on Sunday. I get it in when I got to get it in because I'm teaching today, like I was telling you. So you make your week work based on what you have, but people like this Sunday as an off day to switch off. So I'm glad we can acknowledge that. Are we okay with this?
I like it.
Okay. What you guys are inadvertently doing, has anybody heard of Charlie Francis high-low method?
That's I put skills with low body instead of upper body. Because you want to give high intensity, low intensity, high intensity.
Has anybody else heard of it?
I've briefly heard of it when I went with
Yeah, Andy? What do you know about it?
Yeah. Sort of all the CNS fatiguing work is like it's done usually like a Monday, Wednesday, Friday, and then on the Tuesday, Thursday, Saturday you got the sort of low CNS fatiguing work.
So what you're saying is, this is important to know because this tells you, how do I know where to put things? You don't have to think if you have a system. I'm all about systems because it saves time. I'm also all about working projectors because it saves time. All right, high, or maybe I'll come over here. It'll pop up actually, eventually. So you have high-low. This is the high-low method. It's pretty common
What's
in
the guy's name? Something French.
Charlie Francis. Very well respected. Now he uses it in the context of running, which you should be aware of.
Yeah.
However, we can apply it to microcycles of programs. High. Central nervous system demand is high. Enhanced fiber recruitment requires complete recovery between reps. Think your speed and sprint work. He calls this medium intensity zone kind of the grey area that doesn't really elicit a lot of value and benefit. So he has a high and low, where there's more aerobic base down here, more ATP, like power dominant work at the top here. For our training, we were doing it is you have Monday, high day, Tuesday, low day, Wednesday, it's not a high day. It was a conditioning day for us, right?
Yeah.
Right?
Speed though.
Your speed, that's correct. So it's actually
High.
bit of a hybrid. But really, you know what? Fuck it. I'm not going to go in the middle. It is a high day. Okay? We had a speed day. I should have got rid of all that I did. Thursday. You guys see what's happening here? Right? Oops, that's Friday.
Friday, high day.
Right? You guys see what's happening. Now, why could this, like, actually no, that's not even good. Because a low day is not like you're not training. It's not like there's not a stimulus happening. It's just less volume and less intensity. So, let me give you this.
Yeah.
That's better. Why is it valuable to have these lower spouts here?
Allows you to recover, and then your high days can probably be high.
Yeah. Cover it really is the answer. So you can think about what would be the alternative if we just had high day, I'm resting a little bit, sleeping, high day, high day, high day, high day, high day, high day. Like some people train like that, and then
So their high day is not never that enough high.
hey,
Their high days are not high enough to actually get.
Their high days are too high.
the high days, but they might become so fatigued.
Yeah,
the high days
that-
become
that-
shit days.
Yeah.
This is where the quality of the work is important, because I can only maintain my 0 to 1 reps in reserve for so long. Those technically could all be called high days, but I have recovery days in between. I can only push that for so long. And then,
Yeah, CNS fatigue.
yeah, you start to plateau.
It's a good quote. It's like consistently good rather than occasionally great. I think I've said that to you before.
Yeah, consistently good instead of occasionally great. Well said. Okay, that's the method you guys can use to structure your training weeks for you and your clients. A high-low method. All good there?
Great.
Crazy. Okay. I think, unless anybody got any questions, that's a good place for us to just finish off our assessments now. AT6. Those who've done it, you can get me to sign your stuff. We'll just Q&A.
What is it actually we have to do in 86? I don't know.
You tell me. I don't have to do AT6.
It's
No, I actually don't know.
it's
Have you
when
done your stuff?
No.
You haven't even taught. You haven't even learned it, and you're teaching it.
I built the curriculum, bros.
I know.
I built it.
But have you done it?
No, I did diplomas. I did diplomas instead. Diplomas and degree instead. But if I could go back, if I had access to this type of quality of education, of athletes authority education, getting everything you guys are getting in one, I'd pick this.
You'd be a machine.
Are you starting this?
I haven't started yet.
So let's get it out, guys.
So we're putting in our own feedback.
Sorry?
Is that what we're doing now?
Your own feedback? What do you mean? We're doing
There's a
You-
sample
86, yeah.
evaluation form,
So I think we evaluate ourselves.
Yeah, okay.
but there's also one that,
that I'll do.
yeah,
Yeah.
that's really
Just the best.
Okay.
Just be more confident.
No, that's good. You did the right thing. Yeah, it's fine. Do you want me to sign it now?
Yeah.
Do you have a
So we did this all during the weekend. So we just
maybe? Or I can grab one?
that'd be great, test.